Hey, thanks for tuning in. We are Living Fit, your trainer's trainer. We not only have education courses for trainers to upgrade their game, but we have full on follow along programs, workouts, exercise breakdowns, nutrition plans, and fitness equipment for you to reach your fitness goals. Now, enjoy the show. What's going on, everybody? Aaron Guyett, Education Director and Master Coach of the old battle ropes here on Living.Fit. I've got the honor to speak with and interview Mallory Reilly. She's coming hot out of the East Coast in Long Island. And so as an occupational therapist and a strength coach, she is not only helping people on the physical side, she's absolutely diving into the mental and even diving into the spiritual and really helping people figure out themselves and figure out how to work with the world that is around them through, again, occupational therapy, as well as being a strength coach. So Mallory, thanks for hopping on.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So what got you into fitness? What got you into strength? What got you into this thing that is the fitness industry?
Yeah. So when I was young, I never really was too much into sports. I always liked being active. I did dance and gymnastics and field hockey, but like little tastes of things. And I was like a hardcore theater nerd. I was in all like the school plays and musicals and stuff growing up. But I was a stressed out little kid. I was a very stressed out little kid. You know, life happened to me fast and young. And I found that what made me feel better was when I was active. And even though I wasn't on a sports team or anything like that, I would find myself going on runs and just doing gymnastics even on my own in the backyard and things like that. And even as I got older, I noticed that I was able to focus better in school and I had better relationships with my friends and family when I just made that part of my life. So originally I wanted to be a psychiatrist. And once, I got into college and stuff, that was the game plan. And it was funny because I was in my first rotation, doing my observations and stuff. And I was like, wow, you really do need the body and mind together. I almost wanted to say to the people in the room, let me just go home with you and show you how to move. Maybe you'll feel better,
Yeah.
Things like that in my little 20-year-old brain. And then I discovered occupational therapy and going down that route. And while I was in school for OT, became a trainer. My gateway drug into strength training was CrossFit back in the day. And then I actually got hurt in CrossFit and I healed, quote unquote, and continued moving with kettlebells. That was my way to still be able to be active, even though I had funky things going on in my arm. And strength training is what then not only healed my physical body, but, mental body growing up. And now it's just always a part of my life and what I do and what I try to help other people do.
That's awesome. So talk a little bit, are you currently doing occupational therapy?
Yes, but in my own way.
Cool. Yeah. So talk a little bit, tell us a little bit about what occupational therapy is and then your nuanced approach to occupational therapy.
Yeah. So OTs, we are on the rehab team with physical therapists, speech pathologists, that whole rehab crew. We're right in there. And what an occupation is, a lot of people's like, oh, you help people get jobs. What an occupation is how you spend your time. What do you spend your time doing? So our therapy is to help people individually fulfill the roles that they need in life. So you can find OTs in skilled nursing facilities helping people be independent. So after they had a stroke or a hip replacement, getting on and off the toilet, brushing their teeth, getting dressed independently. So you can find us there. You could also find us in schools. What's a kid's occupation but learning and play? So we help support kids with disabilities or just different abilities, learn and play. So you'll find us there. And where I found myself was the people who maybe they're trying to not have that surgery, or maybe they do live depression and they're just trying to have an empowered life. My niche is helping people through strength training do that.
That's awesome. So you said, well, so first I want to go back a little bit to you doing gymnastics in the backyard. Did you take gymnastics or did you just like...
I took it for 1 year and really loved it. Okay. And then just like loved just like throwing my body around.
Yeah.
And I still do.
Yeah. Oh,
in the gym and stuff, you'll find I'm just like, oh, I'm resting. Oh, maybe I'll just like do a handstand.
Yeah. It's
fun.
It's so funny. I was literally, so I went down to Southern California this last week to do some filming for Living.Fit. And then we're also doing a little bit of side work or whatever for 24 Hour Fitness. So I was in there and I was bored. They were doing a photo shoot with somebody else. And so I was with my buddy, Marcus Martinez. He's another master coach with our kettlebell stuff. And I'm just throwing myself around and everybody's laughing. I'm laughing. But it's so funny. And then one of the other master coaches, our new actual registered dietitian, she was the one that was getting stills shot or whatever. She's like, did you take gymnastics? I was like, no, never. When I was a kid, I was the same as you. I just threw myself around. I thought it'd be cool to take gymnastics. I just never did. So I love that.
So cool thing that I learned as an OT and what you do with kids a lot is that kids learn through movement, and it's also a way to regulate your emotions. So for us, so you have a sense called proprioception, which I'll get a little sciencey here, but it's when your joints squeeze together and your muscles contract, you're able to feel where you are in space and where your body is in the world around you. Yeah. And that calms people down. So my favorite exercise ever is a Turkish Get Up, because you're having that time under tension, and it's so calming to have your joints all squeezed together like that and to be actively holding the weight over your head for that long as you go through all these different positions. It's a very calming movement.
That's awesome.
And stuff like gymnastics, standing on your hands, kids just figure out that calms them down to do that, which is so cool, to roll around.
Yeah, kids like me, 40-year-old kids like me.
Exactly. But we're all just big kids. That's what I always say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and so on that note, right, it's perfect that you brought that side note of the proprioception up, because my then next question was going to be, and is learn and play, right? So you said, occupational therapists can help kids learn and play, right? That could be one of their places you find them or whatever. And what about learn and play as adults? I feel like the play is like the big missing component. And, obviously here I am, just a big kid throwing myself around. You're just a big kid throwing yourself around. But it is calming, and it does help us regulate emotions, right? And self-regulate and then just feel, hey, we exist here in time and space, and here's my body in time and space. And what are your thoughts on adults and learning and playing and movement and strength training? Yeah,
that is my biggest thing working with people and just meeting new people is, how do you play? And adults find their own different ways to do so, but it is just so, especially the way the world is now, some people don't even know where they're going to live, or where they're working, there's so much instability that it's important for you to find stability in your own body, in your own space that is available to you whenever you want. So play is an important way to have that self-discovery and to feel where your body is and have ownership of that and be empowered and realize how powerful you are. And then also connect with other people. So I love when I'm able to have a small group training together, and I'm having grown-ups race. I'm having, we're playing tag, having little competitions, trying to incorporate play wherever we can, because it never goes away. We're all just big kids, and it's so important to always remember that. And that's what keeps you fresh.
100%. Yeah. So what's your, do you know any studies, or can you refer to any studies or any, I think of, now I'm forgetting the author's name, but the author that talks about play and he was, I have the book back here, Spark. Right?
Spark. Oh, I don't know that one.
Oh, okay. So that's the book
I'm gonna have to read that though.
John J. Ratty, I think I'm saying his name right or whatever. And I've actually mentioned, I think, this book on a couple of different calls, a couple of different interviews. But so those are the only studies that I know of, like in regards to play and in regards to movement and how it actually can help us psychologically, socially, emotionally, in our education, right, and learning. Do you know of any studies, or if not studies, like any, personal experiences, observations, anything like that with, how important this is, what happens if it's missing, what goes on in the human, how do we interact with the world if we're not doing this, some version of movement and play and things?
Mm-hmm. I am so bad with knowing authors and studies and all that stuff myself. I kind of have like a visual memory where like I can remember snippets of things, and then like I have a knowing, but then it's hard for me to, unless I'm like writing, to remember exact details like that. But I love sports psychology and looking at sports for this reason too, because like if you think about like how you're learning, like motor learning as you're a kid growing up, and in sports growing up is a good example too, because our memories can't go back that far, but at least maybe you could remember learning how to hit a baseball or something like that. You learn in that variability of movement, right? So it's not that everything's exact all the time. And as you're a baby, same thing, as you're crawling and moving around, it's not like we're like these robots where everything's exact all the time. There's a variability of that. And what helps us then learn and adapt later in life is being able to take all these different stressors and adapt. And that's where a lot of the learning comes from, that our brains are malleable. All the time. And being able to, being exact is sometimes important, but like your best athletes are under stress in a game, they're able to, if something weird happens, recover from it. And those are the ones winning the races, Yeah,
I love that. Actually, there was a really good, I don't know what the distance was, 400 meter, 800 meters, something like that, where the person who was, they thought that she was going to win or whatever, she ended up getting tripped. Did you, in the Olympics, just this last, it was like one of those, like, you would have to look at like 40 years ago or 60 years ago or something to see a comeback like this, where somebody, tripped and fell or got knocked over or something, and then was able to come back. But it happened in real time in the Olympics. It just happened. I can't remember her name. Can't remember the race. So I apologize.
I'm so bad with that stuff too.
So to make you feel better, I couldn't remember Spark until I turned around and saw it in front of my face. So I often have the same stuff. My thought in bringing that up is like, I think that, I feel like that was one of the biggest issues. There's a psychosocial issue of, the whole COVID and the lockdown and not being able to play and move and experience it personally, right? Like you said, unless we're building our gyms and things like that in our house, or figuring out ways to play and move without needing a bunch of equipment or something. But then more importantly, to be able to do that socially and interact with other people. So just wondering your thoughts on that. And then we can kind of dive into, COVID and then also your ability to help people, right. Virtually. Maybe we'll venture into that, but just wondering your thoughts on that whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, the social component is huge. Huge, 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 huge. Like, I would rather train people in a group than by themselves any day. Every time I start working with someone, I'm like, okay, can we get a small group going? And it's beneficial for the person because it's cheaper for them. Because they're in a group, right? And then it's also beneficial because they'll learn better interacting with other people more. It's just like a better return on investment in many different ways.
Absolutely.
And because we are social beings, that's how we learn. And a lot of how we learn is through reactions. Everything, whether it's your emotions and something happens and then you react to it. That's how you learn. Or like physical wise, you're trying to change directions. You're trying to, shift and, you're in like a basketball game or something like that. Everything is how are you reacting in that moment? And that's how we're learning. And then you reflect on your reactions, and then the next time that thing happens, did you skill build, and now can you react even better?
Yeah.
And little by little, all these little reactions just get better and better and better until you're just living happier and more efficiently. But yeah, playing, some people like to play them by themselves. There are times that I feel like I need to work out by myself, but then it's so important to check in with other people, because that's when the changes really happen. That's why competitions happen with a bunch of people. That's why, even relationship wise, if you're dating somebody and you break up and you do all this internal work, you don't know if the thing really worked until you're in another relationship again,
Yeah.
So it's that's the game time. That's how you know when things really work. You can have conversations to yourself and meditate and exercise by yourself all day, but it's when you're with other people that it's that's when it's, the show's on. Did you really learn what you need to learn?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so then, so I wonder, and this is just this isn't a question or anything, but I'm sure that there is going to be, hopefully, somebody quantifying some of this data or whatever and trying to figure this out. And so that we can better prepare if something, like this happens again or whatever. It's okay, what are the things that we can do? And so now this is a question. I am curious. So what are some of the things that you were able to do, and did it stem out of COVID, or was this something that was already in existence in terms of being able to offer, whether it was that occupational therapy or strength training, or a mixture of both, or whatnot, for your clients and potential clients and members and other people that you serve?
Yeah. So personally, a huge thing, and maybe you've noticed it too, that exploded, is the kettlebell community, which has been amazing, especially in New York. If any of you guys are in New York City or close to it, everyone's doing these outdoor classes, and it's just the most amazing thing, because I've done CrossFit and stuff like that, and not to knock anybody down or anything like that, or any of these other classes, but you show up to these kettlebell classes and there's no ego. It's everyone's just really supporting each other and just showing up, and it's just the most amazing thing. And it could be coaches next to coaches. It could be beginners next to coaches. And it's it doesn't matter. Everyone's there to listen and learn and cheer each other on. So personally, the kettlebell community has been so amazing for me in COVID, because I could be working out by myself, but I make sure to either go to one of these online classes that are happening, or, go into New York City and somebody has a class outside somewhere and you can hang out with everyone. So that's been great.
That's
and
awesome.
Then I've tried to create that myself with sessions. So whenever somebody wants to do a session, I'm okay, can we get anyone on here? Even if you just have a friend, let's just all do it together. We're in this together right now, and let's know that we're there to support each other, because, social participation is this huge determinant of health.
Yeah.
It matters so much. So that's another thing. And then I'm thinking about running it again, but we'll see. But when COVID was, it was right after things started to reopen again. It was the fall. And I personally, last year, I was a really, really burnt out therapist, because I was with kids and doing remote therapy all day long. And any teachers or other therapists that were doing that, it was just insane.
Yeah.
Calling parents, trying to learn how to be a therapist remotely. It was a lot. So I personally was burnt out and needed the social support, and was you know what? A lot of women right now, women find a lot of supports going to, I mean, I can't speak for the men, I'm just speaking for myself, but going to these classes and hanging out and being with each other. So I started an online, it was called Strength from Within, and I programmed for everyone, and we all had, they all had customized workouts, but then we'd come online and we'd just talk. Yeah. We just talk about what's going on, and just, that was so important. So that was a big thing. And those are my big things right now. But even in COVID, there's just so many more opportunities coming up that even through online, you could connect with people, or people being hey, let's get out into nature and do things together, or have that kettlebell class or whatever it is. So more things are popping up for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think, screen fatigue, Zoom fatigue, all those things are definitely real. And for me, it's I'll take in person, I'll take outdoors, I'll take, any of those things every day of the week and twice on Sundays, compared to this. But I also don't want to overlook and not have gratitude for some of the things like this that have, come out of, and the funny thing, the cool part is because everybody was Zooming and everybody was doing some sort of online telework of some type, there's so much forgiveness too with that. Like, I mean, you could even see it on like mainstream cable news, which I don't own a TV. I don't have cable. But you walk through gyms or, airports or whatever, and you can see, I'm like, they even have this happening like on mainstream, cable networks and things like that. It's like, oh, that's cool because there's like this immediate like forgiveness for that. It's like, oh, it's okay if it's a little pixelated. It's okay if it doesn't sound perfect or whatever, because what matters is, what it is that we're doing and interacting with or helping each other with. So that's awesome. So you've created, and was it for women only or was it for everybody? Or you did a women only and then you do for co-ed, or how does that work?
So I advertised it for everybody, but then it just turned out that it was all women, but like, it was kind of needed. Like it kind of almost was meant to be that way. Cause it was cool, like women supported and women empowerment is something that's really important to me and something that needs to be acknowledged too. So just having all these women together and supporting each other, and everyone would talk about like their highs and lows of the week and like all that kind of stuff, and just really being there to support each other was just a very cool thing, because growing up, like women can be mean to each other. And it's like are pinned against each other a lot, so to let all of that go away and really celebrate each other's success was really awesome. So I loved running that. Maybe I'll run it again soon, we'll see.
That would be awesome. And so is it the classes that you're doing online, the programming that you're doing, is it kettlebell centric? Are you just taking the tools that the client or the member has and then working with that, or how does that piece work, their equipment piece work?
Yeah, so it depends. I do have some people that they were originally seeing me for OT, and then now I'm seeing them as a coach, which is cool. And they've maybe had some kind of fracture or injury, and then they're like, oh, I do need a strength train now and still be strong, but I also don't want to like go into a gym. So I see them remote. I've had people create full gyms, like buy all the kettlebells and all the barbells and all the ropes and everything like that for their home gyms, which has been awesome. So I've had that. I've had kids come online, which has been great because too, a lot of people, especially OT world, are immunocompromised. So be able to have that access to health and strength training from online is so amazing. And it's just so much easier. And even just my clients that are like, why would I go pay for a gym membership now where I can literally roll out of bed and like see you in my basement? I have one of my clients, she has me up on a TV. I'm like, next step, you got to put me on a drone. Around while we're doing things. So it's been fun.
That is,
and it just makes it more accessible.
That's so awesome. And so are you finding that you're hitting your limit in terms of being able to do online? Because you were also saying that you do some in person as well. And with the in person, well, so first question, are you sort of hitting your limit, or because you're the way you're able to schedule it or whatever, you're available, you have some other spaces, or would people have to kind of be on the waiting list to get in?
I do have a bit of a waiting list, but so I'm the type of person, I think it's because I'm a therapist, in that I would rather teach someone how to fish, so to speak. So I've had a lot of people that start with me one-on-one, and then I'm like, hey, you don't need to do this with me one-on-one like this anymore. Let's just go on to programming now. And so I have a lot of online programming options where it's like, you still have me for accountability. We can talk like 24-hour access to communication with me, that's all great. But like, we don't need to do the hour anymore unless like you feel like you really need to. So that's a big thing for me, in that unless somebody really needs that hands-on support, or quote unquote hands-on, we're on the computer a lot of times. You're
like, I'm trying to, I just can't.
Right. But that people can then go on to some kind of programming, and then that spot then frees up for me to work with somebody who then needs, especially with like if somebody just wants kettlebell training, because I'm RKC and Strong First or whatever. So I get a lot of people that want to also be certified or whatever and want to work on their kettlebell technique, that spot frees up for them. But then also other cool things that I found is through remote. So I'm like, trained in trigger point therapy and stuff like that. I've had so many people get better without me having to land a hand on them. And what I love so much about that is that it just shows that they didn't have to rely on this manual therapy they thought they did before.
Yeah.
And we can have a trusting relationship and they can feel empowered to move and strength train even without that other part to it, which has been really cool as well. So I love telehealth. I think it's great. I mean, I do love the energy exchange of being in person. So whenever somebody is local and I'm like, okay, well, let's do that as plan A, but plan A doesn't always work. I go to people's houses. I have a pickup truck. I literally throw all my kettlebells or whatever in the pickup truck and drive to people, or I meet them in the gym, or I see them remote, or it's programming. So I'm a little all over.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's
so whatever the person needs.
Yeah, but I love that, and then that keeps you from getting probably Zoom fatigue. I would guess, right? And also, like I felt like me growing in my fitness and training journey. It's like I started at a big box, large chain gym, and then grew tired of that pretty quickly, right? And then did like one-on-ones, but then got tired of that, and then did small group, and then got tired of that. But so to have a mixture is, I think, helpful. It keeps you from, like you were saying, like you got, pretty burnt out, especially on the, having to do the occupational therapy for the kids and trying to do that every moment of every day on a screen. Yeah. It can be super tough.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So stepping back and then stepping into kettlebells. So you said basically you kind of work with whatever. So specifically with kettlebells, so are you a RKC instructor or Strong First instructor, or is it RKC or Strong First? Aren't they battling each other? Is that okay that you're both of those things and you just said both of those things? Let's talk through a little bit of the kettlebell stuff. And if you can't say it, don't say it. It's fine. I will not judge you.
I don't follow any of the rules.
Okay. Nice.
I started as Strong First, and I mean, to anyone, look, I don't know if I'll get people mad by this. I loved that I learned from Strong First first, because it was so disciplined in how they taught you.
Yeah.
But then I also loved my RKC training because it really fit into my OT world, and it kind of fit into that using the kettlebell to play a little bit more. So like Strong First was very like competition paced, very, this is how we do things. And then RKC was a little bit more like, okay, here's the leeway room. At least that was my experience. And then next, maybe I'll move on to a different certification. I'm a learn it all, not like I don't like to specialize in things. I'd rather have a greater understanding and learn from many different teachers. Yeah. So I appreciate both of, my trainings with both Strong First and RKC. And now in my own way of coaching, I just blend it all together to where I see is best and what the person needs, because some people learn better from that disciplined Strong First kind of way. Yeah. And then other people learn better from more of, bending and breaking the rules a little bit. And that's how they learn.
Yeah.
So I like giving people just what they, what they need.
So then what we'll do is we'll make sure you get access to Marcus Martinez's kettlebell fundamentals and advanced, and then it'll be something totally different even from RKC and Strong First. And somebody coming from, RKC and also kettlebell sport, which are worlds apart really. Right. And then competed at a pretty high level in kettlebell sport. Then I took Marcus's and I was like, whoa, this is so different. And it was cool because he was like, at the two ends of the spectrum, if it was kettlebell sport and then hard style type stuff, he was like in that middle of the spectrum talking about all of the gray areas that nobody was talking about. Super cool. So we'll make sure we get you access to that. And then we'll have to have you hop back on and then talk about that experience with that and how that's different. That'll be super
Love
cool.
It.
So this is actually picture perfect timing. We'll probably go just a little bit over. So obviously we try to keep these about 30 minutes. I want to ask you, and I think this is important to kind of wrap it all the way back up and put a nice shiny little bow on it, because we started, with sort of your journey into fitness and how it was, being stressed out as a kid, and then just kind of intuitively running and intuitively doing gymnastics, and then, wow, I'm feeling better, but then wanting to learn more about it, and then getting into, you said psychiatry, was that right? Not psychology,
yeah,
psychiatry.
That's where it all started.
Yeah. And then into occ therapy, and then into movement and strength training. So super cool, like journey, right? Kind of like larger story arc. But then really cool that you're able to blend those and not only blend occupational therapy and strength training, but blend even the two certifications that you have, and specifically kettlebells when people are training with kettlebells. So what is LivingFit to you? The concept, the principle, not obviously the brand LivingFit.
I gotta say it's staying a kid. It's always playing, because that's how you're going to learn. And even when you're 90 years old, I pray that everyone just still plays, because it's just so important. And we only get this human experience just like this once. And that human experience is totally down to play, every little bit of it.
Yeah.
So just keep playing.
I love that. So, and I don't know if you knew this, and I don't even know if this is true. This is what I read. And so I'm assuming that it's true. I'm assuming they did a deep study on this. And that's where they got it. Cause it was a really smart person that said it, but we're the only animal species. We're the only species that typically stops play at adulthood. And man, I found that was very interesting and very telling. And imagine if we could keep that kid mentality. Yeah, I love that answer. It's simple, but more important than just simple, it's memorable, and it's absolutely imperative in my mind. But I'm just a big kid. What do I know?
Same. Me too.
Well, Mallory, thank you so much. Again, if you heard this and you're like, okay, I'm ready to start my playing. I'm ready to figure out how to be a kid, figure out how to move, figure out how to occupy my days and my time. Check out Mallory Riley at MalloryReilly.com, or Mallory Riley, is it _OT? Mallory Riley _OT on the old gram, the Instagram. And we'll have links at the bottom here. And you might even be watching this little snippet online on Instagram or on YouTube or something like that. And so we'll have links there as well. But thank you so much for hopping on and sharing a little bit about where you're at, what you're doing, and how you're helping people really like establish much healthier and happier lives. And through this simple concept of being a kid, but also, you're doing the work. Like sometimes it can be hard, sometimes it can be trying, but you're definitely doing the work, and we appreciate that.
Thank you, Aaron. This is all so nice. It's so kind. Thank you.
Hey, for more interviews like that, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you're looking for not only those interviews, but follow along programs, exercise breakdowns, workouts, nutrition plans, and fitness equipment for your fitness results, make sure you hop on to Living.Fit, become a member today, and I'll see you on the next one.